and gentlemen, I bring you warm greetings and felicitations from our President Muhammadu Buhari, who would have liked to be here, but for the clash with the D8 summit in Turkey, which is going on even as I speak. Nevertheless, it's a special pleasure to be here with you today at this 48th Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Africa Region Conference. And this is especially so as Nigeria is honored by the choice of Owerri in Imo State as the venue of this important meeting. It's an additionally auspicious fact that our own, the Right Honorable Acho Ihim, Speaker of the Imo State House of Assembly, currently presides over the affairs of the association, having been elected to that position last year. Perhaps we must also note with pride that our Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara, also presides over the Commonwealth Speakers and Presiding Officers Association by the choice of his peers across the Commonwealth. We thank the association for this unequivocal vote of confidence in these illustrious Nigerians. But for me, I also feel really favored by the Commonwealth Association. Only 3 months ago in Abuja, I had the special privilege of declaring open the meeting of speakers and presiding officers of the association. And here I am again. Perhaps it might be time to consider granting me some kind of statutory, some kind of honorary, member of the CPA or something. The theme of this 40th meeting, Africa's Agenda 263, Vision and Master Plan, presents yet another crucial inflection point for those of us who today have the privilege of being Africa's political elite. The Agenda 2063 spells out a vision of an Africa that is prosperous, integrated, peaceful, and secure. A continent that recognizes the full potential of its human capital and that is a respected player on the global stage. The subtitle of the Agenda 2063 document, The Africa We Want, in the simplest terms, not only describes Africa's aspirations for its future, but it also is the overarching objective of this conference, going by the various sub-themes for discussion. Let me say that the Africa we want is an Africa that works for its people, one that ensures that Africans can enjoy decent standards of living, security, and freedom, and one where women and men have equal access and equal treatment with respect to all economic, political, and social goods. Agenda 2063 proceeds on the strength of the confidence that the 21st century is Africa's century. We've seen a lot of evidence in recent years of support for that fact. The 21st century has gifted us with arguably the biggest positive shift in perception that Africa has ever experienced. A good number of the world's fastest growing economies are in Africa. Countries once perpetually gripped by social and political unrest are confidently mastering the art of democracy. Where once we were a byword for coups d'etat and civil wars, we are now grabbing the attention of the world with our technology, commerce, music, film, and the entrepreneurial energy of our young people. But while these transitions and transformations uplift us, we must also accept the sobering reality that there is a long way to go. Far too many of our people, for far too many of them, there is not a lot of reason for happiness in the present and optimism for the future. We have quite some way to go for the optimism of the Agenda 2063 to reflect enduringly in the lives of the ordinary citizens and people across the continent. The challenge for us has never been in planning, but in implementation. Not in debating, but in doing. Everywhere you look, in our executive offices, in our legislative chambers, you will readily encounter brilliantly crafted documents and visions and initiatives, the Lagos Plan of Action, the Abuja Treaty, the Minimum Integration Program, the Program for Infrastructural Development in Africa, PIDA, the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, the New Partnership for Africa's Development, NAPAD, not to talk of an array of national and regional plans and programs. What we've not been able to consistently do is to put action behind our words and visions. But time is not on our side. The countdown to the Africa of our dreams has since started. Whether we take any radical developmental steps or not, 2063 will inevitably arrive, sooner in fact rather than later. When it arrives, what kind of Africa will it find? In any event, if the indicators are anything to go by, we do not have the luxury of 40 years or the 40 years or more that 2063 implies. We are the world's youngest continent and also its fastest growing in terms of population. By 2050, Nigeria will be the world's third most populous country after India and China. Add to this demographic challenge a host of existing and emerging threats: weak educational and healthcare systems, an absence of social safety nets, climate change, the retreat of the resource-based revenues. These are the challenges that stand in the way of the realization of Agenda 2063, and they must be tackled head-on and urgently. Despite the rhetoric on regional integration, African governments, since the days of the OAU and now the AU, have been late starters in concrete action. We still have one of the lowest trade integration levels at 20%, while Asia is in the 40th percentile, and European integration is much farther ahead at over 60%. The fact remains that other regions play as a bloc, but Africa is splintered into 54, 55 different economies, and ease of doing business across the region remains a significant challenge. There's no question that we must now expeditiously operationalize the agreements on the Continental Free Trade Area. We have launched the African passport, but we must now effect its logical implication, the free movement of persons. But even that involves practical steps. We must construct intra-continental infrastructure that would facilitate the movement of persons and goods. Integration is also bound to protect and strengthen our democracies. The continent-wide condemnation of coups d'etat and all other actions that undermine democratic governance is a positive outcome, and we must encourage ourselves to develop understandings and plans that have at their root the principle that attacks against democracy in any African state is an attack against democracy in every African state. Security will also benefit from greater collaboration, especially given the threat of the mindless insurgent groups springing up all over the continent. The multinational Joint Task Force in West Africa and the Lake Chad Basin region, which has proved formidable against the threats of Boko Haram, has demonstrated the power of practical collaboration where we put our resources where our mouths are. By contrast, collaboration in maritime security is far behind. The challenge of sea piracy in the Horn of Africa and the Gulf of Guinea is significant. The Gulf of Guinea has recently been classified as the most dangerous sea route, which means high insurance premiums for ships coming into the region. We've made previous efforts to respond to maritime insecurity in Africa. The Djibouti Code of Conduct concerning the repression of piracy and armed robbery against ships in the Western Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden. This was adopted in January 2009. We have the Yaoundé Code of Conduct concerning the repression of piracy, armed robbery against ships, and illicit maritime activity in West and Central Africa that was adopted in 2013. But we must now work hard to ensure that our latest effort The African Integrated Maritime Strategy for Seas and Oceans 2015 works. We cannot have all these initiatives and no progress is made. Again, time is not on our side, and the revenues are lost to our governments practically every single hour. Ladies and gentlemen, the legislative and executive arms of government have a duty to work together in order to achieve all of the objectives that our nations have set for themselves. In the case of Nigeria, the two arms of government are seeing the positive impact of cooperating for the good of our people. We have learned that even when we disagree on issues, it does not have to be to the detriment of our people. Anyone who has followed our budgetary collaboration in the last 2 years will readily testify to increasing mutual respect and understanding. Levels of acrimony between us have been diminishing steadily. We have enjoyed the commendable support of the National Assembly in our interventions to create an enabling business environment. And we are on course to see a similar level of support in our efforts to address Nigeria's substantial infrastructure gap. We are currently working together to bring our budget cycle to a January to December fiscal year by passing the 2018 budget into law before the end of 2017. I have no doubt that we'll achieve this. Your Excellencies, distinguished legislators, the power and the responsibility for rewriting the story of Africa lie in our hands. The people of our various countries have elected us to chart the course to the Africa that they want and deserve. Our democracy serves no purpose if it does not advance the well-being of our people, especially the poorest and the most vulnerable. Because we were elected to think, plan, and act in the interest of the majority, we will be charlatans of the worst order if our leadership does not provide for the present and secure the future. I must say that increasingly, the people of our nations are getting impatient. They're getting impatient with waiting for the dividends of democracy. It's our duty to ensure that we satisfy the yearnings of the millions who depend on us. I must commend His Excellency the Governor of Imo State, Owerri Okorocha, for the leadership that he has shown and for the great work that he's doing here, and also for his excellent hospitality always. And in the true spirit of African brotherhood and collaboration, Imo State, as you've heard in the past 3 weeks, has hosted no less than 3 Africa-centered international gatherings, including the visits of 2 or perhaps 3 African heads of state. So as you brainstorm on the future of our continent, I urge you all to make out time to enjoy the rich warmth, culture, and cuisine of this beautiful African city of Owerri. It is therefore on this note that I have the pleasure to formally declare the 2017 Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Africa Region Conference officially open. Thank you.
Please listen to these announcements before we conclude. As soon as we come to